Alright guys, we're gonna react to this video. I love this channel. It's probably one of the channels I actually watch the most out of all the reviews. You know when I say like I only watch like just a few and that, this is one of the channels. But I saw this video and I thought instead of watching it, why don't I just react to it? Because it seems like, it was made 5 days ago as well, so, and if you want to check the channel out, fine, check it out if you haven't subscribed to their channel and stuff. They're really, really good. I think it's one of the best, review channels, because they actually go out in the car and you see it and then they come back into the car and give you a review and non-spoiler. And I don't know how she does it, because when I give non-spoilers, you know what I mean, I'm stuttering like stuff because I'm used to saying, guess what, this movie's awesome, blah 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 blah, rambling on. But this one's called Stop Doing This Horror Movies, My Horror Movie Icks. I don't like the word ick. Like, I just don't. I don't like the word ick. That's, but I understand why she put that. Because it's a generation. So, let's watch the video.
You walk into a cinema, you sit down. It's been a long day.
Yes.
You've been waiting for this horror movie for maybe 6 months now. You've got your popcorn, your favorite seat. But just as the title sequence starts, what the fuck is that font? I'm joking. I am going to be nitpicky, but no, not that bad. In light of a recent rant, I thought we could do some constructive criticism today in hopefully a fun way. We're going to be talking about those little aspects when you're watching a horror movie that set off alarm bells. And for me, the worst part of that is...
Well, she says criticizing, and I said in the last video, like, a lot of criticizing is just getting so overused in the wrong places now, and people's just taking movies for granted and they've lost touch. But this one seems interesting because it's what we don't want. So, see if I am familiar saying things.
It takes me out of the viewing experience. These are some warning signs when I'm watching a horror movie that give me the ick and make me not want to recommend it to any of you. And
well, it doesn't give me the ick. It just like says, bro, why am I here? Did I pay for this shit? Oh. That's exactly my reaction.
Of course, this is personal. It's based on what I like, and I encourage you, please, to leave yours in the comments section. This is not meant to cause hate. Instead, it's meant to create discussion, and if you...
Well, I could make some bad jokes about some certain movies, so it depends where this goes. You might see some bad jokes.
You do like it, we can do yums. Is that the correct term? We can do the opposite, things that give me positive vibes, because when I was writing this list, I could think of more positive things than negative, which is nice, but the negative always seems to outweigh.
Well, it's not really on the massive negative side. It's more like the real side of things. Like, you're literally giving your real side about the movie. If everything was all sunshine and flowers, which a lot of reviewers try to do, I don't know. We'd be looking at the worst movies, the best movies, and the best movies, the worst movies.
Unfortunately. So if you want to see that, make sure to thumbs up this video and subscribe. Let's get straight into it. Pet deaths. I am not so much upset.
Okay, straight out the bat, she got straight into it, and I like this pet deaths. Before she gets into hers, I hate it. It's one of the worst things about horrors I don't like. I really think there's a lot of unnecessary in pets' deaths. Cats, dogs, it's like the latest one I've seen is the Shake, Rattle and Roll, Netflix. It shows you a clip of people crying, and I skipped over it, and I messaged my friend to watch that scene and describe to me what was going on because I couldn't watch it, and he literally said, "I'm glad you didn't, because you would have been heartbroken and distracted from the movie." It turns out there was pretty much a lot. There was guts and stuff like that. Let's just put it that way. So I'm glad I skipped that. I don't like animals' deaths. Have you seen the trailer for Sting? You see this giant spider, and then all of a sudden you see this chihuahua barking. And you already see in the trailer a parrot getting torn to death. So it's like saying, I can't cope with that. It distracts me from the movie altogether. And sometimes if I'm at home, I have to pause it. But if I'm at the cinema or watching it exclusive, it's hard for me to struggle and to get through the movie. I think two things. I think if a pet's death represented something else, than rather just kill the pet off and just, that's it, and there's upsetting scene, I get it with horror, and that's what horror or whatever it means, but if there's a more meaning to it, I think pets, here's a bad joke. Pet Sematary went the wrong way about it after a few movies. Do you know what I mean? Something like that. But it was like The Thing. The Thing as well. They took that to a whole new level, and I was petrified. But the point is, the lovable pet, they say it has to make an impact. That's what horror is. Honestly, I'm not saying that this would be a better option, but if we saw a lot of behind the scenes about the pets, how things were done, we see it on the people side, makeup takes 7 hours for a 10-minute scene and stuff like that. You don't really see a lot of exclusive about pets dying, or if the exclusive pet dies, do you? I get we might already know, but it's nice to still be enlightened. So when things do happen in a movie, maybe it doesn't impact us as much to distract from the movie itself. If you catch my drift, but let's see what she has to say.
Set, although we all are truly, I hope so, about the animal death itself. It's the lazy way that we're introduced to little Fluffy when they're moving into the haunted house, which gives me a full-on ick because I'm aware what's about to happen. It's just a cheap shot. My issue in this lies in purely using this pet as a prop. As soon as I see a little fluffy dog, or really any dog in a horror movie, I'm aware that down the track this is going to be used as maybe the first kill to show the first signs.
But you know what I actually do like when it comes to pets? Meg. When you saw that dog in the water and people thought, oh, no. And at the end you realize the dog is still alive. But it puts you on the edge. I'm hoping Sting goes with that route. No, Sting, the spider movie. I'm hoping it goes with that route. There's a tension scene with the spider and the dog, but the dog is still alive. I like those kind of executions in movies. It's so satisfying, and that's why I top my ranking a little bit higher, if you understand that, because it's so executed well, because it makes you intense. It makes you, said, oh no, worry. But it says, I'm sorry, you gotta watch the full movie to find out. And yeah, some people can predict it saying, oh, it must be still alive because it hasn't showed you dead. But you can't really say that because at the end of the day, there has been pets like dogs and that dying, and they haven't showed you, and it shows you like on the roadside and stuff like that. So that's probably the best execution for Meg. And I'm trying to think of other movies that's done it too. Like they haven't died, they've survived. And it shows you at the end the pet. Let me know down in the comments below what movies has done the same as that.
Danger for whatever entity they're about to battle. And I'm sick of seeing a dog in a horror movie and just knowing what's about to happen. It's predictable and it's just lazy. Of course, like everything in this list, there are films that are going to be the exception to the rule. And a great example of this is The Thing, where a dog becomes a pivotal point of the story. It's used in the plot itself.
Really messed up though. That is really messed up. Like, don't need to take it that far to me, but, I get what they were trying to do with that, and it was creative. It disturbed people, erupted people, and that's what the test of knowledge of horror is. That's what horror is. It's to test the waters of the audience. Like, look at Terrifier. No one knew about the Terrifier the movie. No one did. Until Terrifier really 2. Maybe a bunch of people, but when they watched it, said, oh, it was a load of crap, there's no story in that but when they watched it, oh, okay, and that's why people were coming out the cinema vomiting and being poorly and ill. They didn't watch number 1 at home. You see, if that was me, I would watch number 1 at home first, before going to the cinema to see 2. But the point I'm making is when you see a great director and when you see a great company make a horror movie, they test the waters of people of how far they can go. Sometimes in the classical days, they banned the movies. And then when you see those movies, you're like, oh, that wasn't really as bad as what I thought. But it was because of that time and age. And I think we're getting to a point where a lot of companies is getting too much money and they're using it for CGI and other stuff, and it's lackluster and lazy. That's when I classify as a lazy thing.
Friends, as a rule of thumb, studios, if you replaced your dog, the pet dog that you've written in your script, with a childhood toy like a teddy bear, and there's nothing else that you have to change in the script because you haven't done anything else with this dog character, then you've got a problem. If you can replace it with a prop, then it is a prop. And I think pets used as props in horror movies, we're over it. Okay, this next one I've been seeing more and more.
Oh,
and it is
no. Before you get into that one, opening teasers, I can't stand them. I can't stand. There's one thing about horrors, and I don't know if it goes in the same category here. I can't stand where it shows you the ending or something at the start of the movie, and then it shows you the movie. And then when it actually does happen, that's where it ends. Like, I watched a few, it shows you a clip. I'm like, whoa, who's this? Or who's this getting burnt? And stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, it brings you to the movie. And then you're like, wait, so I have to go for an hour and a half, watch it through, and then when you watch it through, you see that burnt scene, right at the end, and then the rolling credits come up, and you're like, well, what was the point watching the movie in the first place? Like, if I knew that from the start, do you know what I mean? If you knew it was going to be like that at the start, and I have seen a few like that. So when I actually see a few like that, I go no, and I switch the movie off. I don't like that, but I don't know if Class 5's the same thing. Let's see what she says.
Just a sign from the get-go, because it happens at the very start of the film, that this is not a film for me, usually. I think maybe it can come back, but it doesn't have a good success rate. Have you ever seen a film that has a teaser at the start of the movie? I'm not talking about like in Scream or Evil Dead Rise, where we start with action and a crazy opening scene, especially Evil Dead Rise, where you kind of get something that's happening later in the film.
You see, Evil Dead Rise, that wasn't the same. That was just a scene on how it all was gonna really begin. In general, it didn't, but I'm talking about a scene where it's actually a scene, and the same scene shows up in the same movie, and then you've got like 5 minutes, so let's just say 2 minutes for ending credits, so you've got 3 minutes left, and that's it.
The very start. What I'm talking about is the stay tuned, because this is going to happen later in the movie.
Yes!
I bet you're wondering how I got into this wacky situation.
Yes!
One of my favorite things about horror movies is when they lower you into a false sense of security, or you with the character, you're taking on their perspective and you're slowly seeing things change, whether that be psychologically or their atmosphere, their danger surrounding them, and then all of a sudden...
Yeah, she's really hit the nail on the head with this one. I don't understand. Why do they do that in horror movies? Why? Like, you're really ruining the movie. There was a movie I watched on Netflix and I've totally forgotten. I'll describe the movie and tell me if you know what I'm talking about. Basically, this movie's on about an hour and a half, and it shows you from the get-go all these dead bodies at this party, dead. And as 2 coppers go around checking, and you see these dead bodies. Then it takes you the day before, and they're all alive. So you're like, well, that's kind of ruined the fucking movie for me. Because I know that person's gonna die, that person's gonna die, that person's gonna die. They're all gonna die. Somehow, some way. So am I just gonna watch it till how they die? And you get no reaction to it. I forgot what you call it. Everyone is dead? I think it's called something like that. Everyone is dead. And then what happens at the end of that, spoiler alert, it shows you them all in another place like heaven. And then it shows you a scene in heaven where it's all gonna start again. They're all gonna kill each other again. Like, it was what I hate. That was one of the, probably the worst, do you know what I mean? Just horrendous. It was so horrendous. But I got to admit, it was a fun movie. Did I like it? Not as much as I thought, because it ruined it. But if you know what movie I'm talking about, put down in the comments below.
And they're in this crazy situation, and I'd rather not know what the crazy situation is going to be.
Exactly.
Because if I wanted the teaser, I would have watched the trailer.
Exactly.
Having a teaser at the start of your film to show what is coming up later in the film, we're already seated. The movie, I've already paid for it. Don't punish me. The cold opening straight to the peak action tells me that you have nothing else, that you want me to keep watching. And there is nothing else keeping me there except for the knowledge that this is going to happen later in the film.
Oh, why is she hitting everything on the head? She's literally hitting everything on the head. Like, it drives you insane. This actually drives me more insane than actually a pet dying. You know, to the certain degree. Like, you'd rather just see the pet dying, and then, you know, I've seen horror movies like that, and then it's alive stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'll switch it off. I don't want to see the pet die again twice. Like, but that's literally, she's hit the nail in the coffin. She's hit the nail in the coffin. Like, legit, these movies, you know, and I think it's just a cheap sake of, I don't know how to put it. A movie spoiler? Like, you imagine if you have to describe the movie to people what's non-spoiling? You would have to try and not say that part where you've watched 10 seconds of it.
For me personally, it takes all of the mystery and fun out of the film. I'm already seated, and it's just redundant to show me something that's later going to happen again. I would rather go into a film and have no idea what's going to happen, like in Barbarian. I don't know if I'm alone on this, but I just don't see the point of putting a teaser at the start of the film. That's what the teaser trailer's for. And I don't even watch that. This next one, I'm really curious to see what you guys think about it in the comments. It's text on screen.
No. Straight away, I'm going to say it. Red door. Red door. Straight away. Red door drove me insane. Why did we need the Insidious movie? Money. You brought the old crew back for money. It was barely anything in that movie, but what drove me insane is the text is on the screen, he's sitting in the car, talking to his son. You're not talking and you see the text message. I'm like, if our phones was like that, I feel like in 2030, we'd be text messaging and it'd be like a hologram in the sky. You never know this shit, you know. But that drove me insane, and I'm like, oh, the Insidious movies, he's sitting in the car, texting his son, and we're seeing the text message. I don't want to see that. The only time, really, the text message should be on the screen if it's them mysterious killers, you know, if you're in the house or if they're in a car and you get these weird-ass text messages, you know, and it shows you on the screen, so let us to read. But if you're having a normal conversation about, hey, how's it going? What you doing? I'm just there, dear, chilling. I don't want to know that on the text screen. You know, they could put more valuable into it, but they're not, because it's laziness to a certain degree. I swear, if she mentions Red Door in this, I swear, because the one movie popped out was Red Door.
When I say text, I mean text messages. If you can't find a way to show me an important conversation or interaction between two characters, if you can't find a way to do that within a script and you leave it in text form, it tells me you're cutting corners. I want to be very clear. I don't mean you can't use your phone in horror movies. Obviously, social media.
Them movies is meant for that. Them movies were meant for that, so you can't really count them in. But when it's a non-movie reference of just basically a person sitting in the car or in the house and it pops up and there's emoji faces and that, I don't want to see that. It's wasting my time. Make some intense conversations on the phone or a mystery killer or whatever the case is. Then I would be fine with it. I would be fine with that because that's part of the story, because they're using a phone to playing the minds of the victims and stuff, if you get my drift. But normal conversation, I don't want that.
Horror and even using technology in horror makes sense in modern horror movies. Over the shoulder, clicking a few buttons, showing what they're messaging back and forth is totally fine. Yeah. What I'm talking about is very particular. It's the text messages coming up on screen. And of course, this isn't if it's a stylized approach where we're watching in-screen movies that are meant to be, the pure laptop screen that you're seeing messages.
See, again, she's mentioned that, and I have to say, that movie is meant for that purpose. Like she says, that is being meant for that purpose, for that movie. But the movies that don't, I get what she's trying to say. And I swear, the movie that popped at the top of my head was Red Door.
Skype open, Skype shut down. Do people use Skype anymore? Zoom. If you're seeing emails coming in and out, that makes sense.
Yes.
I love those movies. I'm saying, and this is a call out, freaking Insidious, The Red Door. What I remember from the film.
I can't believe she mentioned the movie. It was horrible. Look at this conversation. Hey, Bud, I had a thought. No one wants to hear your thoughts in a text message. I can't believe she mentioned the movie that I just popped out with. It's just funny. It's just one of those... Oh, horrible.
Is the crazy interaction between him and his son just through text messages. We waited 5 years for an Insidious film and maybe 20 years for the return of some of these characters.
Yes.
And this is what they did. It takes me out of the film. It's just not an immersive experience having that bubble pop up. And it just felt lazy. I didn't go to the movie to read the text messages between you and your son. I went there to see the emotion, the interaction between two actors. And I can't stand relying on these text messages that pop up on the screen like you've gone into a website that has the virtual sales assistant. No, thank you. I'm here to enjoy my movie. And it's also giving, we'll fix it in post. It just feels like a separate element to the timeline that we're currently watching. Okay, I wanted to show an actual example of what is too far for me with CGI. And I want to talk to you about CGI possession.
Okay, here's my take on CGI. People's not gonna like it. People's not gonna like it. Like so. When people didn't know CGI existed, things were a lot more better. Now a lot more people in this generation know about CGI. Filmmakers play this dumb game and make CGI 110% because it's cheaper, but also they have the money to do it. And it's lazy. It's lazy than just molding a face with a stretch ass long mouth. Or, something like that. Or they would put was it eye drops? Was it like eye drops in the eyes at one point to make the pupils, them points, this is their excuse. They made CGI for that. But they put too much CGI in for laziness. It's for laziness. And it doesn't look, not, I wouldn't say scary, but realistic form that you would see as a possessed demon or a paranormal ghost. It just looks like AI. It just looks like the AI itself, and that's another thing. They take advantage of the AI system as well, which is a wrong choice. I think it's so they don't put as much money in the movies. And he said, this cost us so much, but it turns out a lot of CGI sometimes costs a fortune. It just looks bad. It just looks bad. Like, they'll have one scene of CGI, right? One scene. And I promise you this, nothing else will happen in the movie because that scene cost, I don't know, $1 million to do? Well, like I said, you know, I can remember but behind the scenes of horror movies when they used to mold faces and make different kinds of faces on their bodies, scars and stuff like that. And they used to have a pump to squirt out the blood. You see what they do with CGI in the blood? Holy shit, it looks bad. You know, it looks bad. It's like, lately, I've seen the samurai sword chop someone's head off, and you see it CGI, and it's squirting like a water fountain, but it's not right. You know, where in the other previous days, they would use a dummy, attach a head, so when they sliced it, the head would just drop off, and the blood, like, you know, whatever they called it, I forgot what they called the red stuff now, red dye or something like that, and they would squeeze it, and it would squirt out, you know, like actually proper shit. And the CGI used to be 25 to 30% in the films, to just on top of that, so it doesn't look too rubber. You know, now they don't do that shit. They don't. They just pile this CGI on, use computerizing, use AI, and it's the worst case scenario. It's the worst case scenario because it doesn't look scary. It just looks, ugh.
And I know all of you already have in your brains exactly what image I'm about to show you in examples. And just for fun, please write in the comments what you think CGI possession or possession CGI is, because I would love to see if you can guess what I'm about to say. There is a place for CGI, 100%, especially with how amazing the technology has become, particularly in horror because of our entities. I love it. But there are some things that we just, the cliches that we just haven't grown from. And for me, that is the black-eyed, black veins pulsating through the body with the wind and...
Yeah, like I said, they used dye in the eyes before, and, you know, the CGI, I can't say this right now, is basically, it makes it more, it's supposed to make it more shiny and glossy, you know, but it just looks like marbles. You know, when you see shiny marbles, you know, it just doesn't look right. It just doesn't look right. And again, like I said, the mouth situation, you used to use rubber, like the rubber moldings and stuff. Like I said, you don't see that much anymore, if you notice. That's why when I go back to killing the pets off, I want to see a behind the scenes about them situations, because I feel like they have the right, as much as the humans as well, to, you know, for, you know, the behind the scenes situation, and we be all happier. You know what I'm saying? I get it. What they did in the past days, the molds looked rubber. But you know what? I would rather look like that than have 110% CGI. Because at the end of the day, how can I put this lightly? It doesn't look you know, with the rubber in what they did with the facials and stuff like that, it looked more legit, and he uses CGI to make it look more properly real. Now, they're dismantling all that. They're going to try and dismantle all that and use AI and computerized stuff, and that's why a lot of the blood, and that's why you see, when you see off-screen kills and there's a blood splattered on the wall and stuff like that, you see that a lot more coming often. It's not because they're trying to cut down the violence of the disturbance, it's because of that situation. Because they just splash it on the wall. It's like, I could get, like, I don't know, Ribena blackcurrant. If you're in the UK, you'll know what Ribena blackcurrant is. I could get that, put it in a cup, and splash it on the wall, and it'll look like I've slashed someone. No, seriously, it does. You can take red dye, yourself. You could buy red dye, put it in a cup, and splash it on the wall on the sideways angle, and you've got your scene. You've got your scene, and all you need to do is film in the person with, the machete or something ready to go down and slice them, and it cuts off. That's instead of having the rubber situation. I would rather, it might not look right, but at least, it's a slasher horror to invest in. But when you come to possession of CGI, they use too much computerizing content, I call it. It's just horrible. That's why I stopped watching a lot of paranormal movies. It just looks horrendous.
All of the special effects in one CGI possession. That's what I'm going to call it. You know the one I'm talking about, and it is sad because most of the time this is actually a combination of special effects makeup and CGI. They might have in black contacts and a lot of makeup, and then it's just exaggerated later.
Yes.
They're fixing it in post. I am seeing a common theme. And you may be asking, okay, well, if someone's possessed, how are they meant to show that? Well, there's some great examples of this. I think that they show that within the universe that they've created the story in. A great example is The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which does have some very tense possession elements and scenes.
See, that has tension scenes, but you don't see the CGI. Because why? Because they're using proper props. They're using proper props. This is such a debatable thing, and I don't know why it's such a debatable thing to people. I think people are just soft. I think people are just soft. Yes, I don't like certain things in horror movies. I don't. That's why I don't watch certain horrors, But when it comes to this situation, I used to watch a lot because they use their own props and just a tiny bit CGI, to make it look real. And that's what made it stand out. If it's too much CGI, it just looks like a computer game, a video game. It does. You've seen how bad they are. Yes, okay, the people who don't use CGI, slashers and that, you see it, but it was more entertaining. I would rather have that than full on, if I wanted a video game, I would play video games like I normally do, horror video games. I would have played that, you know what I mean? But that movie, what she's talking about, this scene here, they're using props. They're using the actual props more than the CGI. That's why that's a standout.
But although they use a little bit here and there special effects and a lot of makeup, the majority of her performance is what carries the possession.
Yes.
Along with the contorted body, they just let her act.
Yeah, that freaked me out. When I first time watched that and I saw that scene, I was like, fuck him out. And I messaged my friend saying, you gotta see this movie, man. You gotta see this movie, man. What is it? This twisted, possessed fuck. What's the movie, man? You paused it on the wrong spot, didn't you? Yeah, I did. Like I have now.
Acting speak for itself, and that's what makes it so effective and one of the scariest possessions, I believe, in any horror movie, because it looks realistic.
And I bet it was about 25% CGI in that one. And that had to do with the twisted body parts and stuff like that. Because if you just used the rubber situation, you would see it's rubber. The rubber made, the stuff what they used. The makeup and that.
When I see the black eyes, black veins, the whole shebang, it just has become such a wild cliche.
Yes.
I think that we can get more clever. I think we can do more. Not every ghost looks the same.
Yeah, they can. That's the thing, they can. That's why I hate to take a shot at this, but Scream, I've been taking the shots left, right, and centre during the news that came in itself, because I don't like how that's going. But if you look back, comparing to now situation, they used the props more than CGI. Now, like I said, with the cut throat situation, when they, back in the day, you could see it was like a prop, like makeup over it, where the CGI covered all that, and it just looked like a proper neck. That's what they should go back to. That kind of stuff. And if they went back to that stuff with paranormal, ghost possession, you realise how scary in 2024 would be. Yeah.
Same in every horror movie, so why does every possessed person have to have the black eyes, black veins? Have you ever seen a horror movie that just randomly has found footage, randomly smack bang in the middle, for no...
I hate this. I hate this. You're watching a movie, right? And then all of a sudden, this random footage, and I'm like, how the fuck did he get that footage? I'm sitting there like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I get it if it was part of the story. Again, like she just mentioned, the story, I get that. But it's not. It's like, they in this house, and videotapes. Let's put one in. And then you see this footage of everything, and I'm like, really? You went that way round forward? I would rather confronting face-to-face situations. Titans clash. You realise you've seen those scenes before, rather than just a video. Oh no, I'm trying to put the expression out there. Oh no. This has been in the house 15 years ago. Oh no. We moved in. What should we do? And we move it out. Simple thing, right?
Reason. I'm talking about a non-found footage film having found footage elements. This actually has a term. It's called a hybrid found footage film. And of course, there's exceptions to the rule, which there are exceptions to all of these rules. And that is when they integrate it into the story, or, it's a fake out where you think it's a found footage, but it's not.
Yes.
I love all that kind of stuff. That's more experimental style. So that is not what I'm talking about.
I'm sorry.
Because that is true hybrid.
I'm sorry, but you're saying this is criticism? No, this is just common logic. This is really... I like this, because a lot of reviewers, they just don't even talk about this kind of stuff. They don't talk about this kind of stuff. They just go and watch the movie, think in their mind what they're going to say before make the video, and ignore what's on their screen. And I hate that. I unsubscribe to a lot of reviewers lately because they're just complaining for complaining's sake, and So I don't really, this is criticizing. I think this is a kick up the arsehole. That's the term for it. This is kind of like a wake-up call, to be honest. You could base this on a wake-up call, and you would say to yourself, this is what we have to do. But people got lazy. Companies got lazy because of too much money. And I say this again. It's the same as Scream 7 being announced. There's going to be people at that cinema watching it. You know, it's the same as a lot of other franchises, a lot of other monies in general. I say this, and I say this again. It's up to the people to take action. If you don't give them their money for the movie, like so, you see an impact. You would see an impact, and they would have to go back to their old roots. And this is what I said about a lot of reviewers. You know, they lost their touch. Same as filmmakers. They've lost their touch. You know, I've said this multiple times. It triggers a lot of people, but I don't care, because that's the real outing. A lot of people have lost touch. And that's why I'm actually like this video. So I'm going to put a like on there as well. You know, because this really shows the outing of what movies should be like. And you're making some really good, valid points. You know, then criticism to me. And I think that's a great opportunity. A great opportunity. And no, I'm not simping. I don't simp for anybody, just clarifying that and everything like that. I'm not simping for anything, you know, because they'll come at me saying, oh, because the female said it. No, like, if this was anybody else, that I would be the same thing, because in this generation of form of 2024, you got to think of the past horror movies you watched scared the shit out of you for a reason, you know, and that's when I say lost touch. Those movies you need to go back to and bring them up to date, not with full CGI, not with random spots of video footage, just plain out effort. Some of the movies took years to be made. Like, I can remember that time as well. People want movies made in 12 months now because of the money and the CGI and the cameras and everything like that. No. I always say, let them cook. You know, let them cook. Take as long as you want. If it's a year and a half, 2 years at least. Like, do that stuff. You know, because it's going to be a horrible mess.
Found footage, but what I believe is happening is people are using that term and seeing that trend and kind of flipping on its head. And because we have so many devices now that are so readily available, cheap, people are filming just little aspects of the movie found footage and inserting it to make the film feel kind of dynamic, give it a montage moment, taking advantage of this cheap way of filming without any real purpose. And for me, once you change the perspective of the film, it kills the magic spells. The cinema magic is gone.
It does kill a lot. Even when you watch movies at home. Have you been at home, you're getting your popcorn, like she said, and a cup of tea, or whatever, or just a drink in general, and you sit, and you watch a movie, bye, I can't wait to watch this movie, and that scene pops up, and you're like, well, there's another 40 minutes of this left, what are we going to do for the next 40 minutes? And then it's just all filter until the last 10 minutes or so. And then you're still underwhelmed because you saw that scene 40 minutes ago, you know?
Because I'm thinking, okay, in what timeline are we watching this? They've obviously taken the footage out and edited it back in. I'm just thinking about all of the things I shouldn't be. And yes, I'm aware this could be a me problem. Why are we going from someone who is beautifully lit?
It's not a you problem. It's not a you problem. It's a generation problem. It's a generation problem. I'm not filtered, so I'll say it. It's it's a generation problem. There's so much technology and everything these days that they think they can, like, make a videotape and put it in, like I said, in general, and people won't click onto that. But those scenes hit the spot. You know, them scenes hit the spot. Now it's, have you seen the generation of horror where they look upon on the phones for the answers? I just cringe. Oh, so this is what we have to do. This is how we have to get rid of it. I'm like, could you not just put your phone away? Like, do you know what I mean?
With a stabilized camera to them holding their phone, and now we're getting the footage from inside the phone. Of course, again, we have Screen Life, we have films like Spree, that experiment.
Okay, again, like I said, that was a phone movie. That, there should be a category for this, a horror phone movie. To me, that there should be a category for that. I've always said that. So you know. And it would be fun to see what movies would actually turn out on that. Because some of them are quite scary. Because you're like, shit. That's kind of could happen in reality, as well.
With a lot of different aspects, because that's social media horror. But I'm talking about movies. I watched one recently, Double Blind, that just had found footage in the middle of it. I'm a huge fan of found footage.
See, that's what I'm talking about. They're doing random footage and they're sitting there and then you see something in the background. What would you rather say? Hear him talking about the footage or what's in the background? I would just focus on the background because something's happening in the background. I don't give a fuck about the person sitting filming shit randomly. I don't care about that.
But the whole point of found footage is you find the footage. You're finding the footage after the fact, playing it back, and this horrific story is there for you to see. Of course, there's different ways of, obtaining found footage, and there's some amazing films that get very meta with that, but that is around, again, the plot point of using the switching back and forth, the hybrid. I just don't want us to be taking the viewer out of the experience, out of what could possibly be a tense situation to feel a little bit more dynamic, because it doesn't look dynamic. It just feels silly and pointless, senseless hybrid. That's my little rant.
As much as I agree with a lot of the stuff, because it's very, very rare I react to a video and agree with the stuff. Most of the stuff you said I agree with, because like I said, it's a wake-up call. I think this should be a wake-up call. About the movies. And I think a lot of reviewers should do videos like this too. And you don't see it. You see them sit down. That's why I chose to do my art. Like, I create art and create colourful different characters. You never know what character's going to come up during a review. What you see. That's why I did it differently. With situations like this. Like, it's a wake-up call. I don't want to see 6 possession paranormal movies with stretched faces and that. You want to be more creative. Which would be a movie review I'll be popping up as well about that situation. But besides, everything else, I think that's really it for the video. Guys, like I said, I really think deep down this is a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call to a lot of things. She's actually right in some cases. She is. And I'm not just saying that. Like, if you watch so many horror movies, like, you say yourself, But instead, people just complain and complain and complain, and then they'll back it up and say, oh, it's criticism, or criticize, whatever. And it's not. It's just plain stupid complaining. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear logical stuff. So, guys, what do you think, like, about these, pointers? I'm not even going to say takes, because takes is overrated too. These pointers, let me know in the comments below, what's your experience about the horror movies, what you've experienced that shouldn't be in, as well. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you all in the next video.